Hey everyone, and welcome to our channel. Today we're going deep, like really deep, into some of the darkest corners of history. You know, those events that textbooks often gloss over, the ones that send shivers down your spine. Yeah, those. We're talking about the moments that, despite their darkness, have shaped our world in ways we often don't realize. Think of history like a tapestry, right? We tend to focus on the bright, intricate threads, the big battles and famous figures. But what about the darker threads, the ones woven in the shadows? They're just as important to the overall picture, even if they make us uncomfortable. So buckle up, because we're about to unravel these forgotten narratives. We're going to confront uncomfortable truths, explore the ripple effects of these events, and hopefully gain a deeper understanding of how they've shaped our present. Let's get started. Okay, let's travel back to the 2nd century CE. Imagine a world where empires sprawl across continents, where trade routes hum with activity, and complex societies flourish. This was the world of the Roman Empire at its zenith. But even the mightiest empires can falter, and the 2nd century marked the beginning of a slow, agonizing decline for Rome. Now, we often hear about the fall of the Roman Empire, right? It's like the ultimate historical cautionary tale. But what's fascinating and often overlooked is how this decline reverberated across the globe, impacting other major powers like a domino effect. Think of it like this. The Roman Empire wasn't some isolated entity, it was intricately connected to other empires through trade, diplomacy, even conflict. The Parthian Empire, stretching across modern-day Iran and Iraq, was a constant rival and trading partner. The Han Dynasty in China, at the peak of its power, felt the ripples of Rome's decline through disrupted trade routes. Then there's the Gupta Empire in India, a period often hailed as a golden age. Even they weren't immune. The collapse of Roman trade networks had economic consequences that echoed across the Indian subcontinent. And let's not forget the Kushan Empire, stretching across Central Asia. They were intrinsically linked to the Silk Road, which, you guessed it, was heavily influenced by Roman stability. The 2nd century decline of the Roman Empire wasn't just about the fall of one empire, it triggered a chain reaction, a global power shift that impacted civilizations across continents. The delicate balance of power was disrupted, leaving a void that would be filled by new empires, new conflicts, and a reshaping of the world as they knew it. Think about the interconnectedness of our own world today. The global economy, political alliances, even the spread of ideas, they're all interconnected, just like in the 2nd century. What happens in one corner of the world inevitably impacts the rest. Sometimes in subtle ways, sometimes in dramatic, earth-shattering ways. The decline of the Roman Empire serves as a stark reminder that even the most powerful empires are not invincible. It's a lesson about the interconnectedness of civilizations and the ripple effects of seemingly isolated events. It's a reminder that history is not just a linear progression but a complex web of interconnected stories, each influencing the other in profound ways. Alright, brace yourselves because this next chapter delves into one of the most horrific and disturbing corners of history, Unit 731. Now, World War II was a breeding ground for atrocities, but the actions of Unit 731, a covert biological and chemical warfare research unit of the Imperial Japanese Army, stand out for their sheer cruelty and depravity. Imagine this, under the cover of secrecy, in the puppet state of Manchukuo, now northeast China, Unit 731 conducted horrific experiments on human beings, most of whom were Chinese and Soviet prisoners of war. These weren't just abstract scientific inquiries, they were systematic acts of torture disguised as research. We're talking vivisection without anesthesia, testing of deadly diseases, frostbite experiments, and the deliberate infection of prisoners with plague, cholera, anthrax, you name it. The details are gruesome and the scale of suffering is almost incomprehensible. But here's the thing. For decades after the war, the full extent of Unit 731's atrocities remained hidden. Japan, under American occupation, largely escaped accountability for these war crimes. Many of the unit's leaders were granted immunity in exchange for their research data, allowing them to melt back into society, their horrific deeds largely unknown. It wasn't until the 1980s and 90s that survivors began to speak out, their testimonies shedding light on the unimaginable horrors that took place in those labs. Even today, Japan's government remains reluctant to fully acknowledge and atone for the atrocities committed by Unit 731. So why is it crucial to talk about this dark chapter? Because acknowledging these atrocities isn't about dwelling on the past, it's about understanding the lasting impact of unchecked power and the dangers of silence. It's about demanding accountability and ensuring that such horrors are never repeated. The legacy of Unit 731 is a chilling reminder of the dark potential that lies within humanity, but it also underscores the importance of truth, justice, and remembrance. We must never forget the victims, and we must continue to demand accountability for these crimes against humanity. Chapter 3: The Stolen Childhood's Orphan Labor and the Fight for Child Welfare. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about a lesser-known but equally disturbing chapter in history, one that hits close to home for many: the exploitation of orphan children. Now, when we think of child labor, our minds often go to factories or mines, right? But what about children forced into agricultural labor, treated as little more than farmhands, denied education and basic rights? That was the reality for countless orphans in Switzerland, and it continued well into the 20th century. Imagine being an orphan, vulnerable and alone, only to be sold off to farmers who viewed you as cheap labor. These children, some as young as 5 or 6, were forced to work long hours, enduring harsh conditions, physical abuse, and often emotional neglect. But here's the thing: Switzerland wasn't alone. Similar practices existed in other European countries like Germany and Sweden, and even in America, where orphan trains shipped children off to work on farms in the West. This widespread exploitation of vulnerable children exposed a gaping hole in societal values, a disregard for the well-being of those who needed protection the most. Thankfully, these injustices didn't go unnoticed. Social reformers, writers, and activists began to shine a light on the plight of these children. One such voice was Dorothy Roberts, whose groundbreaking book, Torn Apart, exposed the history of child welfare in America, including the exploitation of Black children. Her work and the efforts of countless others led to the development of child welfare systems, the recognition of children's rights, and a growing awareness of the need to protect vulnerable youth. Interestingly, the phrase "put up for adoption" originated from this era, referring to how orphans were literally put up on auction blocks, their fate decided by the highest bidder. The story of orphan labor is a difficult one to confront, but it's a testament to the power of speaking out against injustice and fighting for the rights of the most vulnerable among us. It reminds us that progress is often a long and arduous journey, but with persistence and a commitment to justice, change is possible. Chapter 4: The Year 536, A Volcanic Winter and the Onset of Darkness. Okay, let's journey back to a time when the world seemed to be plunged into a literal dark age, the year 536. Picture this: a series of volcanic eruptions so massive, so cataclysmic, that they shrouded the sky in a thick veil of ash and dust, blocking out the sun and plunging much of Europe, Asia, and the Middle East into darkness. This wasn't just a few days of gloom. We're talking about a volcanic winter that lasted for over a year. Temperatures plummeted, crops withered and died, and famine gripped the land. Imagine the fear, the uncertainty, as the sun, the lifeblood of their world, seemed to vanish. But the darkness was just the beginning. The volcanic eruptions triggered a chain reaction of climate chaos. Droughts ravaged once fertile lands, and the weakened population, already decimated by famine, became easy prey to disease. And then came the plague. In 541 AD, the bubonic plague, now known as the Plague of Justinian, emerged in the Eastern Roman Empire and swept across Europe, killing an estimated 30 to 50% of the population. The year 536 and its aftermath represent a turning point in history, a period of profound darkness and upheaval that reshaped the course of civilizations. It's a stark reminder of the power of nature and the fragility of human existence. But amidst the darkness, there were also glimmers of resilience. People adapted, societies rebuilt, and from the ashes of this cataclysmic period emerged new ideas, new technologies, and a renewed appreciation for the preciousness of life. The story of the year 536 is a powerful reminder that even in the face of unimaginable challenges, humanity finds a way to endure, adapt, and ultimately rebuild. It's a testament to the indomitable spirit of our species, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can emerge. That's it for today's deep dive into the darker corners of history. We've explored empires crumbling, unspeakable wartime atrocities, the exploitation of vulnerable children, and a year so dark it seemed like the end of the world. It's heavy stuff, but it's important to remember that these stories, despite their darkness, are essential threads in the complex tapestry of our past. They remind us of the mistakes we've made, the lessons we've learned, and the importance of constantly striving for a better, more just world. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let us know in the comments which dark part of history you think deserves more attention. Remember, understanding history, even its darkest chapters, is crucial to navigating the present and shaping a brighter future. We'll see you in the next video.